life. Now, some, like Peter, have an impulsive response to this. Peter dives into the depths, swimming toward Jesus with all his might. The others are a little less reckless, a little more restrained. They stay in the boat and make their way back to shore. When they get there, as usual, the table is set and everything is ready for the disciples when they arrive. Jesus calls them back to the table, breaks bread with them, and offers them fellowship and sharing a meal with him. And he gets them grounded again. And then comes the challenge. Do you love me? Do you really love me? Do you really, really love me? Then follow me. Remember when I told you that I want you to be fishers of people? Go. Do that. Oh, and one more thing. I'm going to have to leave you now. So please carry on in my place. Take care of my flock. Feed my people. Meet their needs. Tend to them. It's not enough to just go through the motions of your daily life. I'm calling you to something more. And where will you get the strength for all that? When you're tired, when you're scared, when you're doubting your own ability and your commitment, when you're feeling overwhelmed, or too busy, or too cynical to keep on believing in this mission. Here at this table, here where you experience community, here where you know that you are loved, here where you can never screw up so bad that you won't be invited back again. Come and eat. And then go. Go on. No more moping around and going through the motions. Be fishers of men and women. Feed my lambs. Tend my sheep. And the rest of the story is in the book of Acts. And the people of God have continued to write the story of God down through the ages, even unto today. So I wonder if we, covenant community, if we had been at that meal on the banks of the Sea of Tiberias with Jesus, and we had heard those words, what would we have thought? And felt? And done? For myself, I know that God gave me life as a precious gift. God gave me this life for a reason. And God calls me to be a part of God's ministry. And yet I'm often tired, too exhausted to get involved in one more thing. If I'm honest, though, what holds me back more than tiredness or busyness is self-doubt, fear of failure, and pride. I have an impulse to reach out to someone and then I get all shy. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I look stupid? What if it's awkward and uncomfortable? What if I'm rejected? Every once in a while I see the big picture, God's big picture, and where I could fit in. But then I procrastinate, I don't follow through, or doubt myself. And I think the antidote to this is hearing God's word, coming to the table, experiencing his presence in the community of others, being buoyed up, and being called by the community. Steve and I and our children started coming to CCC last winter, and we have found in you a community to call our home base. We've experienced love and support. Your presence in a time of need like when Steve's dad Otto died. You're calling forth our ministry. You're providing deep friendship and food for the journey. in experiencing you as my community. I've been thinking a lot of late about what it means to be a community and to be a community organizer. And recently I've been reading a book by Paul Oak called Soul of a Citizen, Living with Conviction in a Cynical Time. And while I don't consider myself to be cynical, I do resonate with the living with conviction part of the title. And I've especially found good food for thought in a chapter called Village Politics. Loeb begins the chapter with a story of a reluctant community organizer, an ordinary guy whose name was Bill Cusack, and he had been flying into the radar, being a pretty conventional, non-controversial, plain vanilla kind of life, until he got sucked into a cause that he believed in. And Bill ends up concluding, the process has been like a crowbar to my soul, opening up the depths to go beyond that superficial intellectual process of detachment. It laid a foundation for a style of life I'll be following as long as I breathe. I've had to think about the reality of my Christian faith instead of just the abstractions. I started looking at different situations, like people in poverty, and asking, how would Jesus respond? Bill's answer has been to work through his own network of friends, colleagues, and connections to organize a response to problems he sees in his community. Loeb calls this village politics. By that he means using face-to-face networks and existing communities to address larger issues and problems. Now, at times these networks insulate us from difficult social problems, segregating us by class, race, and belief systems. Yet, they can also provide a powerful structure for raising critical public issues with the people who are likely to take our perspectives most seriously: our colleagues, our co-workers, our neighbors, and our friends. He's speaking here about the potential to be a part of God's big picture by tapping into already existing connections. He describes how people who otherwise would never have taken an interest in a cause or a ministry begin to respond when they're invited by peers, feel connected to others, and can begin this work together in a safe and familiar environment. And Loeb calls these groups engaged communities, places where people get the strength to respond to social need and work for social change through being part of a community of support that has some form of internal organization. Does that sound like an intentional community? Loeb says engaged communities can give us a way to do more than cringe in private when we witness a social problem, an issue that concerns us, or someone in need. They can help us speak with a common voice and put up with endless mailings, phone calls, meetings, and other repetitive tasks that are needed to mobilize people to act. Communities can help us exchange our own stories so that we remember why we take our stance. They can help us develop and share a rich vision and sustain our commitment and hope. Challenging the presumption that our efforts are futile, engaged communities teach us that change only comes when we climb the mountain together. At their best, their purposefulness, generosity, and reciprocity anticipate the world we seek to create. As I look around my community, whether it's a small C community of Louisville Metro in southern Indiana, or our larger world community, I see increasing isolation. And I think that's why people are hungry for communities like CCC. Loeb has a great way of naming this when he contrasts fishing together with bowling alone. I assume that the inclusive spirit of CCC draws people who long for a place to belong and something to believe in. And I assume that is why CCC has grown in 7 years. I know for myself that coming here was like finally coming home. That I found a place that I love and where I am loved. And at this moment in our life together, I think we as a congregation are quite blessed. And also